just realised that I'm like off to this side for the entire video. Sorry about that, but hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a bit of a follow-on video from one of my previous videos. It was one of my first videos, I think, and it was my application and audition process for the Brit school. I was gonna actually film this video outside so that it could be like similar, but I went outside and I was gonna film this video outside, but it's too hot. Whew. It's a bit too hot for me, it's a bit too hot for me, you know. I don't really want to do it because it's get a bit sweaty, you know. So I'm just going to film it inside. I should have filmed this in natural light. So in that video I'm talking about my audition and application process to get in Brit for year 10. So if you want to know about that, go and watch that video. I ramble at times, but I do get to the point, so if you want to know about that, go and watch that video. This video is going to be structured a bit like my last video, so I'm going to speak briefly about my time at Brit in year 10 and 11, and then I'm going to answer questions that I've asked a lot to lead me on to other things. So I joined Brit in year 10, and on my channel there are some vlogs and I don't even know stuff if you want to watch them. I have a few that I never ended up uploading. I might upload them, but I'm not sure because they're obviously from ages ago, but they're kind of fun, so I don't know. I will film more next year in sixth form. So for me, year 10 was probably the best year of school. For some people it won't be, but it was just so fun. And obviously it's the year before GCSEs and everything, so it is serious, but it was just so fun as well. Brit's like any school in the sense of academics and GCSEs. You know, you've got to get your head down and work, quite frankly. I speak more about GCSEs in year 11 in my previous video if you want to go and watch that. So in year 10, strand wise, obviously I'm in MT, musical theatre, so I know mainly about that, but then I have friends in pretty much every strand as well, so I briefly know about them. But in MT, in year 10, for the first couple terms up to Christmas, you just start working together, basically. First, they usually do solos. You don't have to do them. There was one girl in my class that never did it, but most people do them. You just prepare a solo and you sing it for your class, and it's for your class to get to know you better and for your teacher to know you and your voice better as well. And then, like I said, you just start to get in the flow of the lesson more. And then after Christmas, you start your first component. From year 10 to 11, you do 3 components. In year 10, you do component 1, and in year 11, you do component 2 and component 3. So just briefly, component 1 is basically where you focus on 3 musicals. For me, it was Rent, Into the Woods, and Jesus Christ Superstar. And you study them and you learn a couple of numbers from each of the shows, and then you put all of the numbers together and you perform it as a sharing just to like your parents, and yeah. But you also start logs. I think pretty much every strand does logbooks. Every performing strand does logbooks, definitely. And logs are basically where you write about every single lesson. Each strand does it differently. In some strands you have to answer questions. Some strands you need to literally just write. And it is a lot. And if you don't get on top of it and you leave it all last minute, so the night before it's due, then it's a lot. But yeah, there's that as well. So there's always what you learn to perform, and then there's also the written side of it. In year 10 for the other strands, I know dance do a couple of shows, but they're only little. Basically they do like a number in another show, like the sixth formers show the year 10s will do a number in, or the year 11 show the year 10s will do a number in, that kind of thing. I know that in FMP you do most of your work in year 10. You do pretty much all of your work in year 10, and then in year 11 you do, I guess, the funner things. I don't really know.
Oh, I was going to say, basically, everyone in MT went on for like 24 hours about, oh my god, MT is so hard. They do a 2-year course in 2 years, and they struggled with like 1 assessment. FMP and IDD do the same course with the exact same amount of work in 1 year, and we don't complain.
I mean, you do.
I just want...
For the other technical strands, I actually have no idea what you do. Theatre, again, I don't know. I actually don't know. How do I not know? Music, I think you do a show, like a little sharing. Basically, year 10's for getting comfortable in the school and getting comfortable with working with each other. And the biggest show you'll do will be like a little sharing or a number in a different show, that kind of thing. I'm really hot. Pretty much right at the end of year 11, there's this day called Little People's Day, where loads of really little children come in. They're like 5 years old, some are younger, some are a bit older. I think a lot are younger actually. They're basically very little. and you usually get given a theme. Our theme that year was Brit Goes Green, so dance did something about littering and learning how to pick it up. My strand, we made this little show about this girl called Flora, and she had this like perfect garden, and her next door neighbour, Mr. Trash, who had this really messy garden. And basically Flora taught Mr. Trash how to clean and recycle and all of that, and it's very interactive as well, and that was really fun. It's a great way to end off the year. Obviously you do have year 10 mocks as well, but you have exams every year. And then right at the end of year 10, like the very end after this, it's the end of the year, you have Brit Camp, which is extremely fun. I should have vlogged it, I don't know why I didn't, but I know there's at least one like Brit Camp vlog, I don't really know, that someone else did. And it's basically you go to PGL in the Isle of Wight, and it's for 2 nights and 3 days, and honestly it's so fun. That's a whole other story. Then in year 11, my previous video was about year 11, so you can go on that if you really want to know more about being a year 11. But in terms of strand, like I said, you do component 2 and 3. Component 2 is your show. Everyone pretty much does a show. In musical theatre you do your musical. Ours was Songs for a New World. I didn't know what it was, so if you don't know what it is, it's basically a song cycle. And I know theatre did a show, dance did a show. Basically you do your shows right at the beginning of the year so that you can get them out of the way before your mocks and GCSEs. Then basically after Christmas, for musical theatre anyway, I don't really know what the other strands did, you do just like a little fill-in thing. So we did a song and dance project where, bit similar to component 1, you studied 3 musicals again. We were doing Billy Elliot, Cats, and Everybody's Talking About Jamie. In a way it's basically a bit of a backup, so you don't need to do logs or anything, but there is a PowerPoint that you need to fill out, and like I said, it's basically a backup. So usually that wouldn't count towards your end BTEC grade, but now for us it probably will, because we didn't get to finish component 3. So, and then while you're doing that, you start component 3, which is a devising project where you get into groups, you get a theme again, and you have to devise a piece. But we never got to finish that, so yeah. Then obviously you do exams, but Maya never got to do that. In Brit you don't go on study leave, so you're always at school basically. But in Brit you have longer half terms. When you have a half term, they're always at least 2 weeks. That's kind of, I guess, where you should start all of your big revision. And then you have a prom and a graduation, and yeah. I know that was extremely brief, but I didn't really know what to speak about particularly. But now I'm just gonna answer some more specific questions that get asked a lot about Brit. So a lot of people ask about the academics at Brit. You know, are they still important? Do you still focus on them? Do your academics suffer because you're doing extra things like your strand? And also things like with GCSEs, do you pick fewer options? All of that. Do we pick fewer options? Yes. But it does depend on your school. So in my last school, you did your core subject and then you picked 4 options. In Brit, you do your cores and then you pick 3 options. It's 1 subject less. Do they still matter? Yes, of course. It's something Brit stands by a lot. It's not just a performing arts school. If you are a Key Stage 4 student, your academics is still extremely important. And overall, the GCSE results that come out of Brit are way above average in the whole of the UK. So yeah. Does your academic work suffer if you're focusing on your strand? So this is the thing. You have to be very self-motivated and you have to have a good mindset throughout. So I will say, for me, and I know some other people, my academic grades have dropped since I joined Brit. I don't know if that would have happened if I didn't leave, but from year 10 to 11 my grades did significantly drop. However, in, say for example, 1 subject, for 1 year, our teacher was a bit... but then he left. But then in year 11 we got a really good teacher, so we got way back on track. I was in set 1 for everything, apart from I was in set 3 for 1 subject. And it's frustrating because your sets come out of your induction tests that you do in your induction day for year 10. So it's frustrating because if you just happen to do bad on the day, you'll get put in a low set, and then it's really hard to work your way back up to move sets, because there are set changes, but not many people usually move. If you are not in a particularly high set, I think you need to, like I said, you need to be very self-motivated, and it can be hard to find a good work ethic in your whole class. But what they do, they always try to work around things. So if you don't have a particularly good class, they will take people out of it and separate the class to people who are determined and to people who You know, I'd say it depends a lot on you if your academic work suffers, but you do also have a lot of strand stuff to do, so it is quite hard to balance it all. But yeah, what is a normal day like? Is it longer? What's my timetable like? In sixth form, this is different, but in Key Stage 4, every day starts at 9 a.m. Your first lesson starts at 9. You don't have registration in the morning, which I did have in my last school, and I think a lot of schools do have, but you don't have that. You have your first lesson at 9 every day, and then on Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, your day finishes at 3:45. On a Wednesday, your day finishes at 2:45, and on a Friday, your day finishes at 1:15. So on a Friday, you basically have a half day. But there are a lot of extra dance classes and peri lessons that you can do after school and during school as well. Especially on a Friday, there's a lot. Even though we have half a day on Friday, I'd always end up leaving at like 5 or 6, I don't even know. In Key Stage 4, you do 5 hours of your strand a week. In sixth form, you do 16 hours, but obviously in sixth form, you're only doing your strand unless you've taken another pathway, which is another A level. So you do 5 hours a week of your strand. That can be split up into 2-hour lessons, 3-hour lessons. In year 11 you do have a 3-hour lesson, hour and a half lessons. You only have strand 2 or 3 days a week. In year 10 I had strand 3 days a week. I had it on a Monday, a Thursday and a Friday, and in year 11 I only had it 2 days a week, 3 hours on a Monday and 2 hours on a Thursday. All the other days are just academics, so it differs every day, but you have lessons in the morning, then you have a break, then lessons again, then lunch. In Key Stage 4, lunch is from 1:15 till 2, and then at 2 you have form or registration until 2:15, and then you have your last lesson of the day. On a Wednesday, the day finishes earlier because after form or during form, it's like an extended form, it's PPD. So PPD stands for Personal Professional Development. Sometimes it's an assembly of just your year, sometimes it's an assembly of year 10 and year 11. And sometimes you just stay in form for the entire time and you do something. Like in year 10, a lot of it is applying for work experience and making a CV and cover letter and things like that. In year 11, it's a lot about, you know, exams and all of that. So yeah, that's basically a rough idea of the timetable. But that leads me on to assemblies, and if we have them and if they're like a normal school. In most normal schools, you have an assembly at least once a week. But we wouldn't have an assembly every week. Like I said, you would have an assembly in some PPD sessions, for example, to talk about work experience or things like that. But then those were just little assemblies. But we do have really big assemblies as well, which are amazing, and I love them so much and everyone loves it. A lot of work goes into them. So we have LGBT assembly, mental health assembly, Black history assembly. They're organised by teachers and students, and people put ideas forward to perform in these assemblies and like audition for them, then perform in these assemblies, and they're these big like celebrations basically. They're so fun. I'll try and find some sort of videos from some of them. There was one, the Black History Assembly in year 11. All of these assemblies, by the way, are year 10 and 11 all together, but it was in year 11 for me. It ended with like a mosh. Everyone just came down from the seats and was just dancing while this steel pan band were playing, and there was literally like mosh pits. It was so fun.
It is him I love. Oh my god.
He said to me to be 21 and still not be out. That's like leading a life of secrecy and shame. I told him it's not the same. My mum, you know, she's from the Caribbean. He goes, oh, that explains it. I go, explains what? And he says, well, you know, the way you look. I thought maybe Indian, Arabic, something like that. And I said, well, why don't you say something? And he says, mate, it's 2020, nobody cares.
YouTube video.
assemblies are great and they're one of the best bits. So if you don't know, Brit doesn't have a school uniform, and a lot of questions come out of this, you know, just like, what's it like not wearing it? I think when you first start, it's like, oh my god, what should I wear? Literally a week in, you will see that it doesn't matter, and you don't need to make a crazy effort every day. People come in pyjamas. Like, I'm serious, people come in pyjamas. I never had. There's not particularly a dress code, but if you're wearing something obviously inappropriate or something like that, you will get told that it's not acceptable. But the thing is, everyone is respectful towards it as well. You won't really see people coming in outfits that are just not respectable, not, you know, you find ways to express yourself in what you wear as well. Some people use it as like an art as well, if you know what I mean. It's also not judgy at all. If you do dance, if that's dance strand or dance GCSE, you need leotards, black tights. If you do musical theatre or theatre, you also need black clothes because you need to wear blacks. In MT, for a lot of lessons, you need to wear blacks. In theatre, I'm not sure if it's just performances or if it's in lessons as well. So if you're in one of those strands, you need a lot of black clothes, and they just need to be comfy, not crazy stylish or anything. A lot of questions that also get asked are about the journey and if it's long and if it's bad, if it's not enjoyable, things like that. I have a friend that literally lives 10 minutes from the school. Some people moved from different countries to come to the school, so there's a very wide variety of journeys, but obviously they don't go back to the country that, like I said, they move. Some teachers and a couple students come from places like Brighton as well, but they do have other places to stay as well. For me, my journey is an hour and a half to 2 hours each way. So it's at least 3 hours every day. I get 2 trains and 1 tube. Some days I get home really late. But honestly, one of the best parts of it for me is the journey, because I get the journey with my friends. Not all of it, but a lot of it I get it with my friends, and it's just fun and it goes really quick when you're with other people. When I'm by myself, it takes really long, but that doesn't happen much. The journey's just part of it as well. You know, you're going to this school, part of it is the journey. If there are issues with things like trains, you will be late to school, you will have to find alternative routes, but this happens a lot, not a crazy amount, but enough for you to know what to do in these situations. Sometimes it happens and you have to get off a train and you see teachers and you see students, you see everyone going to Brit that has to get a different route, and through this happening you find loads of different routes. But yeah, and the school is obviously more understanding with you being late because of the journeys and things like that, so obviously it's not like okay to be late, but they are more understanding about it. This seems like such a silly question, but it's probably one of the most asked questions ever. Do you just sing and dance all day? No! Even when you are doing your strand, a lot of it is written work as well. A lot of it is your coursework. Are you just singing and dancing all day? No. Is there anything exciting that happens that doesn't happen in normal schools? Yeah. For example, Brit alumni come in a lot who have become successful and gets to speak to the students. Usually they have a session with whatever strand they were in. Sometimes it's not even Brit alumni, we just get guests that come into the school to speak to a certain strand, or you get certain opportunities, like in year 12 you get to go to the Brit Awards, and some Brit students perform in the Brit Awards as well. There are some things that happen which wouldn't particularly happen in a normal school, but it is all part of it. It's very much like a normal school as well, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. Do you need to be amazing at everything? No. If you are amazing at everything, you probably won't get in, because it's all about progressing and finding that potential that can be pushed to become something. You know what I mean? I get asked a lot, specifically for musical theatre students. People say things like, oh, you know, I'm alright at singing and acting, but I cannot dance to save my life, or the other way around. And honestly, not everyone is perfect at all 3 aspects, firstly, and not everyone is perfect altogether. And that's what you come to the school to do. You come to the school to learn. You don't need to be great at everything. Some people do have strengths. There's a very wide variety in my class, definitely, of strengths in each aspect. And over the course of the 2 years, I can see in every single person the progress that's been made, whether that's in everything, whether that's in just one thing. But you've got to remember, you're coming to the school to learn. You don't need to come already being polished. Is it a big school? There's 2 theatres in the school. There's 3 main buildings basically, and there's only 4 years in the school. There's year 10, 11, 12 and 13, and there is actually year 14 as well, but it's very small and I don't really know anything about that. But yeah, so there's only 4 kind of 5 years in the school, so it's not too big at all. Do I think people will become famous even if it's for their strand or not for their strand? Yeah, Brit does turn out a lot of successful people, whether it's for what they studied or not what they studied, whether it's something that's easy to see like a performer or someone that becomes a big agent or someone that works in production arts or I don't know, designing, things like that. Yeah, definitely. I don't like the word famous. I think people will become successful. Hopefully everyone becomes successful, but yeah, why not? Are there big personalities? And if so, is it exhausting? Yes. Not much else to say. There's big personalities in every school, but performing arts school, yeah. You learn how to deal with it, and also you'll know if it's good or bad. By that I mean bad where someone who, you know, the bad type, someone who's in it for themselves, or someone who's just out there. But then also throughout the time at Brit, I think people learn how to control that and get to see all these other types of people, if you know what I mean. I'm not making much sense. Yeah, there are big personalities and it's all very loud. That was almost my yearbook quote, but it wasn't. Especially musical theatre. Musical theatre is just known as the loud strand. But do you know what? People don't like MT because they want to be us. So, you know what? Like, what can I say? But yeah, something I forgot to talk about earlier on is the process of reapplying to get back into sixth form. Internal students do have to reapply and re-audition to get back in for sixth form. Some strands are stricter than others, but basically at the beginning of year 11 you need to reapply to get back in, and I might be wrong, but I think next year onwards have to audition with external students or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's definitely changing. So what I'm saying right now might not apply to younger years. But what we had to do is apply on audition, and it was all separate. A lot of people, I think everyone just automatically gets back in, but it's not true whatsoever. There's one strand where I think only about half of the people got back in. You do have an opportunity to reapply. Sometimes you get back in, sometimes you don't get in. But yeah, you do have to reapply and re-audition, and you don't automatically get back in. Would I recommend it? Yes, definitely. But it was definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I'm staying there for sixth form. So when I start sixth form, I'll make more videos letting you know what it's like. I would definitely recommend it. Even if you're just thinking about it and you're not quite sure, definitely apply. Go to the open days, you can see what the school's like, see what the atmosphere is like. One of the best things about the school is the atmosphere. You never really know properly until you go. People that go will know what I mean. And by that I even mean if you literally just go into the school at an open day to see what it's like. You never know until you go. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, that was my video. I hope again it was helpful in some sort of way. If there were any questions that I didn't answer and you want to know, put them in the comments, or when I do videos of asking me questions or whatever, put them there and I'll be happy to answer them for you. I just thought I'd do a little Brit 2 years on video, as obviously I know more now. Make sure to like, comment if you can. Sometimes the comments are switched off, I don't really know, it confuses me. And subscribe to become part of the family. See what I did there? Thank you for watching. Bye!
Yeah, it all started with a little square tab that passed through bad days. Found a really calm beach, blue sands and flat waves when exploring for the